Hey everybody, this is Jordana McGonigal. I'm the CEO of the Recon Network and presenter of the Vet Summit that you are taking part in. As part of the Vet Summit, we have been able to bring together a number of different experts, various fields that matter when it comes to veteran hiring. And so I am very excited right now to be speaking with Craig Washburn. He is the founder and CEO of WOTC Veteran Tax Credits. And we're going to be talking a lot about different tax credits, how you can become certified, how you can use that on your resume to stand out above the rest. And I guess let's just get started. So Craig, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to have you. So I guess let's just start off with tell us a little bit about yourself and your own background and WOTC. How did you get involved with this kind of work?
Okay. Well, so I'm a Navy vet, and it's been a long time. In fact, this December, we will have met the 25-year anniversary of me getting out of the military. So it has been quite a long time since I've been in. But, you know, I started back as the Gulf War was heating up. And decided that I wanted to serve, and I needed some money to continue my college education at the same time. So I jumped in January 3rd of 1991. And about 2 weeks into boot camp, we announced that we were going to war. So it was an exciting time. You know, that kind of started a change in my life, because when I made the decision to go in the military, it was a decision that, you know, I'm taking control of my life. I'm stepping up. I'm, moving away from mom and dad, and now it's time to be the master of my own destiny. So I went in with the mindset of, I'm going to do the best that I can at everything that I do. And, starting this career in the military is going to be a great stepping stone for me to, launch off into other things in life. And so I started that mission, back in 91, and spent 4 years in the Navy, 2 years attached to an anti-submarine helicopter squadron, and then spent 2 years on an aircraft carrier, the USS Saratoga. Post-military, I did 4 years, and it was time for me to get back out and go to college. And, I kind of faced the same uncertainties that every single one of our brothers and sisters faces when it comes time to leave the military. It's okay, don't have a whole lot of experience in the civilian or corporate sector. I've just spent a period of my life in the military getting used to the cultures, traditions, mindsets, rules, regulations, all of that stuff. And then it's time to get out and literally make a switch, right? Because once boot camp starts, it's a mindset change. It's you literally learn a brand new way of life. So I went through some of those initial challenges of that separation. I, like most, when it comes time to leave, we want to say, okay, I'm ready to go, and let's get out of here as fast as we can. But there's also trepidation that goes along with that. I went back to college, so I didn't face some of those initial fears around career. But once I got through college, it was, okay, now how in the world do I go out and, present myself to companies to try to get employed? And that wasn't something back then that they did a whole lot in transition. I mean, the transition program today is a whole lot more in depth than it was for me. I mean, I got 2 hours at the MWR building on base, and it was, here's a packet, here's some resume templates. Any questions? Nope. Okay. See ya. Bye. So, that was my exit. And then, after college, went into the corporate environment and did that for many years, and then made the decision to kind of take control of my own destiny and open up my very first business, and started down the entrepreneurial track. So, WOTC came around as a result of me finding out about a Department of Labor program that has been around literally since post-World War II. And I found out about it, about 15 years out. And so as I, learned about this program for the first time, I was, number one, I was a little shocked, and then a little frustrated or very frustrated that I was just now learning about it. And so this Department of Labor program is the veteran tax credit. So essentially the program, at the core of it, it's designed to incentivize businesses to choose from groups that have historically faced barriers to employment. And we know that the military and military spouse community obviously has those challenges, right? We talked about a few of those just a second ago. And so, as I started to understand the program, I started thinking about it from a lot of different angles, and that's where the frustration came in. So the first one was from, a veteran's perspective, because I was doing some volunteer work with a nonprofit in the Dallas area that was helping with transitioning veterans and people transitioning directly out of the military, and working with businesses and trying to find opportunities for them and helping them with resumes and mock interviews and all that kind of stuff. And so I was thinking about it from a veteran's perspective, and it's like, okay, so if we come with a tax credit for a business to hire us, that's something that we can leverage. Why don't I know about this? I mean, I would be, I thought back to all of those times that I was job searching myself. If I'd been able to, in the interview, say, hey, oh, by the way, I'm a veteran and I come with a tax credit. Should you choose me as the right fit for your company? That gives me an edge, right? Mm-hmm. So I was frustrated that I didn't know about it from the veteran's perspective. And then I started thinking about it from the time that I was in corporate America. I mean, I was a hiring manager. I was in leadership positions for some very large companies, and I hired vets. Vets hire vets. We know the value that veterans bring to our teams and our workforce. So I was thinking about from that perspective, I'm like, if I had, for those vets that I'd hired, if I'd known about that, I could have applied for it and put money back into my budget that I could have used for the next hire or for other things, right? And so it was like wasted money that I just didn't get because I didn't know about this program. And then I started thinking about it, from the businesses that I served in the company that I owned and ran, because I helped businesses with HR solutions. And this is an HR related program. It's related to hiring, right? And so I'm like, I should be telling my clients about this program so that they can take advantage of it and get excited about hiring more veterans. And so, at first I took responsibility of the ignorance of not knowing about this program. And, but I started reaching out first to, vets that were lifelong friends that I served with, and said, hey, what do you guys know about this program? And not a single one had any clue. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously the communication on the veteran side is lacking. So I started reaching out to my clients and started asking them about it. Hey, I know you got some vets that work for you. I've actually steered some of them your way. How did you guys handle the tax credit? And I got the same blank stare from most of them. There were a couple companies that had used it and tried it and given up on it because of some of the complexities of the program, but the vast majority of them had no clue. And they're like, we get tax credits for hiring veterans? And I'm like, well, apparently you do. So I start, after that, I'm like, okay, I'm going straight to the source. I need to figure this program out. So, I contacted the Department of Labor and I contacted the workforce agency in Texas where I was headquartered and said, tell me about this program. And as they walked me through the program, I'm like, this is an amazing program. Tell me why I don't know about it. Mm-hmm. And, the answer was pretty simple. It's like, look, this is a federally funded program. It's managed on a state by state basis, and each state has their own set of resources and teams. And most of the states have very limited resources and very limited personnel. We do the best we can, but it's like most government programs that are out there. If you they're there for you, but you got to find them. And, you know, it was an answer. It wasn't an answer I liked, but it was an answer. And so, you know, as I kind of understood the program, and then, you know, I asked about some of the complexities of it and where there were some challenges, and a lot of that stemmed back to the resource issue on a state-by-state basis. And I'll, you know, I can talk more about that a little bit later, but, you know, my thought process was around, okay, this is an amazing program that has the ability to affect veteran unemployment on a very large scale if we can fix some of the challenges around communication and education, and then some of the technical and complexity problems that the companies face. And, you know, I asked them, I said, so, you know, as you've explained it to me, I realize companies can try to brave the water on their own with doing the paperwork themselves, and there are some challenges in that. I realized that, you know, companies can hire on a consultant and have them handle paperwork for them to try to cut back on some of that. But what is there for the veteran? I mean, how does a veteran leverage this program so that when we're out looking for jobs, that we can say, hey, look, you know, in addition to all the other skills and strengths that I bring to the table, I also come with some money that you can put back in your recruiting budget. So when you're looking for your next candidate, you've got money to do that with. Mm-hmm. And so they, you know, the answer was, well, we have a way to get pre-certified into the group, into the veteran target group. And I'm like, okay, well, how does that happen today? What site do I go to? And they're like, no, there's no site. This is a federal program, but remember, it's managed state by state. So you got 50 different states doing their own thing. So what you'd have to do is get in your car or truck and drive down with your DD-214. And if you're service-connected disabled, bring your rating letter, and we will pre-certify you in the group, and we'll give you a government form that you can take with you to a potential employer. I'm like, well, okay, well, that's okay if I'm close, but, you know, if I'm 200 miles away in a rural area, mm-hmm. and there isn't an office close to me, how do I do it? And they're like, you've got to drive. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not a great, you know, in our time of technology, that is not a great solution.
Right.
So I asked them, I said, hey, you know, if I was a consultant, I understand I can do the paperwork on behalf of the business, and there's two sides of that paperwork. There's the employer side and the veteran side, and I can submit that to you and you will process it. If I do it for the veteran while they're job searching and send you that paperwork, would you process it? And they said, well, we've never had anybody ask us that question before. I said, okay, well, will you do it? And they said, yeah, we'll do it. If you want to do it, we'll do it. And I said, I'm in. So that's where the concept started. It was, how do I help my brothers and sisters leverage this program? So I, you know, self-funded the platform and built the software to facilitate that side of it and be the first online resource that veterans can use no matter where they are in the world to get ready for transition. And then once they get out and they've been in the civilian sector for a while, when they find themselves looking for their next career, that they can use this program again to their advantage.
So, and when we're talking about these tax credits too, I mean, we're not talking about pennies. We're talking about thousands of dollars, which, you know, as some people may think, oh, well, you know, that's, you know, whether or not they should use that type of leverage within a job application type situation. You know, what would you tell them? We're not, you know, let's talk a little bit about the tax credit as it is, you know, especially on the side of the veteran. You know, why should they be using this stuff?
Well, number one is the fiscal advantage that it brings to you as a candidate. So the Department of Labor program's intent with this program is to provide a carrot to a business that says, hey, we know you've got to make choices in candidates, but there are certain groups in our country that historically come up against roadblocks every single time when it comes to finding employment. So we are going to give you a carrot of a financial incentive to choose that target group or that candidate in that target group potentially over other candidates. So, if you get down to your final 3 finalists and one of them comes with a tax credit and the other 2 don't, and everything else is pretty equal, there is a carrot there for you to choose that person, right? And the carrot is a pretty big carrot, as you mentioned. So the least amount of tax credit that as a veteran I could come with is $2,400. But that ranges all the way up to $9,600 for just a single target group. And there are ways that some of the credits can stack and they can actually be higher than that. I've had some veterans that qualified for as much as $15,000 for the company that hired them. Mm-hmm. And so, if you think about it from that perspective, it's, when we're transitioning, we automatically come with a minimum of $5,600 up to $9,600. And again, if something else stacks, it can be higher than that, but those are our minimums. And the only difference between those 2 amounts are whether or not we're service-connected disabled of at least 10%. 64% of the folks that are leaving the military today are walking away with at least 10%. So the vast majority of us, are going to come with almost 10 grand in tax credits. So, think about that from a hiring manager's perspective. 10 grand is a pretty positive incentive to choose a candidate if all things are equal among the other finalists, right? It's kind of like if you go into a car dealership and you're looking at, buying a Mercedes or whatever, Toyota 4Runners or whatever, and you've got it narrowed down to your top 3, and maybe one comes with an automatic seat warmer and the other 2 don't, and there's going to be some small things that will separate them. But if you get a $10,000 discount off of one of the 3, that's a pretty positive incentive to go, you know what, I can live without the seat warmers, right? I'll just go heat up the truck before I get in it in the morning. So that's the intent of the program. So, that's the value that this program brings us as veterans, and learning how to leverage that can be very powerful for us.
So I'm going to ask this because I know that there's someone watching who is thinking this exact thing. Mm-hmm. I want to win that job on merit, not on what I can offer the company.
Sure.
And so what would you tell somebody who is kind of taking that point of view, is they don't want the job because of what extras they get, that the company will get off of their backs. They want the job based on merit and based on fit. So what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell you that from a hiring manager's perspective, that if you're down to a finalist, you're already there because of your merit. So, if you can put one more edge on that resume and one more edge that you bring that company, if it wins you the job over the other 2 finalists, then so be it, right? Ultimately, what's great about this program and great about our country is you get to make that choice. If you don't want to use this program, don't use it, right? It's a personal choice. And I've heard that commentary before of, I don't want to be the one that gets hired because of money. Well, I will tell you, as a business owner, one of the most important things to business owners, because it's what makes our business operate, is money, mm-hmm. right? And so if you can put 10 grand back into my profit and loss, my P&L, and you're an amazing candidate that got down to a finalist, you've helped my company, right? The other thing that it does is now it has set the wheels in my own head turning, going, man, I got a great asset in this new vet that I hired, and I got money back in my budget that I never knew about. Maybe I should be hiring more veterans. Mm-hmm. And that's where this thing comes full circle. And it actually is a way for you as a candidate to pay it forward for your brothers and sisters. So more companies are excited. And, again, it's the full picture. It's not just the money. because there are things in the program that are designed to be there so that companies aren't doing this, like they're hiring you, getting a tax credit, and then firing you, and then hiring another veteran. There are work requirements that have to be met, and those tax credits are earned as a percentage of wages over a period of time up to a year. So there are safeguards in that so that it protects us as a target group, so that we're not being exploited. But, you know, big picture, as long as you come in and you do what we know you'll do when you get hired, then put money back in their budget and let them hire some of your brothers and sisters.
Right. So let's talk about the process a little bit. You know,
Sure.
what does it take, especially on the veteran side? You know, we're speaking to veterans right now, or transitioning service members. So what do they need to be prepared? What do they need to get ready? What do they need to plan on doing? And at what stage in a transition? You know, obviously for those who are already out, go for it. But is there a certain stage at transition that they need to be focused on this rather than at another? What are all those details that takes to get certified?
So we have made that process extremely easy for you. Again, on our platform at veterantaxcredits.com, you go in and you register, you complete the required documentation that goes along with the program through a series of steps. You answer some questions and then you submit that. And then from there, we take over. So, you know, if you're in transition, there's going to be a couple of documentation requirements that you're not going to be able to provide at that time, which is your DD-214 and your rating letter, right? So if you're coming out with that rating. But as soon as you get those, you upload them, and as soon as we have them, we have all of your paperwork, and we submit that for processing with the government. Mm-hmm. The government's then going to send you a packet, basically the same packet you would get if you drove into the office with that documentation. But because a government packet with a government form isn't always a real, you know, if the company you're going to has no clue about this program, right, and you can't articulate the program and you hand them a government form, it doesn't give you the leverage that you need, right? Because they're going to go, what is this? And that goes,
looks like more work.
Right, looks like more work. Because how many people like government paperwork?
Yes.
Nobody, right? Think about your taxes. Nobody likes government paperwork. So what we do is we take it a step further to help you as a veteran leverage this program. And we do that through, as soon as you complete your survey, the next step is that you get taken to your profile. Mm-hmm. And your profile is essentially another e-profile that you can use as you're marketing yourself. You upload your resume, you put in your LinkedIn URL, you can do an introduction video if you want to and upload that. And then where it becomes easy from an interview perspective, you get a letter that's not only emailed to you, but it's in your profile for historical reference that you can download and print off and take with you to interviews. And that letter is designed to market you as a veteran to the business. And then towards the tail end of the letter, it gives them our site with a personal code for you that they can go to and learn more about the program. They can click on your profile and see basically your e-profile there, and then how much of a tax credit you're worth. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the way that we recommend veterans use it is you go through your normal interview process just as you always would. 98 to 99% of the time, if your interviewer is worth their salt, at the end of the interview, they're going to give you one last chance to speak. And that's kind of how they're trained to close interviews. And they'll say, you know, Jordana, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you sharing everything. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we conclude this interview, or something to that effect, right? And that gives you that opportunity to thank them, to go through one more time your soapbox speech of why you feel you're the best fit for that company. And then, oh, by the way, you know, should you choose that I'm the right candidate for your company, I've done the legwork to get pre-certified for a veteran tax credit that your company can realize. Here's a letter that explains it all. And then that's it, right? So it's quick and easy on your side. You don't have to know the ins and outs of the program and be able to sit there for another 20 minutes trying to explain it to a business. You just give them the letter and then let our side of it do the work to help them get educated on the process and hopefully get, that extra check mark on your resume that says, hey, we want to bring this guy or gal back for another interview. And hopefully that will follow through all the way through to the final decision. So we make it extremely easy for you so that you can use it.
So let's say, you mentioned that they can kind of take some paperwork with them to kind of market themselves. Are there any other ways that veterans who are certified, who've gone through this process, can use that to kind of market themselves or to put their resume at the top of a stack? Is there anything else they need to know?
Yeah, so the recommendation is that you put it on the top of your resume. Somewhere in that first third that you kind of put in a bullet, center it, bold it, pre-certified for the veteran tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in today's world of technology, most companies today, they're using their applicant tracking system, which is the database that collects all of these resumes when candidates apply. And you think about, first what a recruiter is going to do is they're going to go into that database and they're going to type in keywords for the position that they're trying to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to pull up a list of resumes that they can swipe through, right? Swipe left, swipe right. And so the idea is to put that header on there so that it captures attention, right? Oh, this is a vet. What's this tax credit thing all about? Maybe we need to interview this person. And, again, that could potentially help you get your foot in the door. There are a lot of other things that you need to do as a transitioning service member to prepare yourself for employment, networking, lots of different things that I know Recon Network does a great job of helping prepare you for. But this is just, again, one more thing that you can highlight on your resume, that if you're doing the other things, that once it gets in front of somebody and they get eyes on it, if they don't know about the program, it's going to key them in on it. And hopefully that helps you get your interview. And so, just to step back a couple minutes here in our discussion, you'd ask about timing. When do we do this, right? So this is a program, number one, that follows a veteran our entire working career post-military. So it's not a once and done type of thing. Obviously, the largest incentives are put on the front end of this program to help us when we're transitioning out, because that's the most difficult time, because we're coming with just our military experience that can sometimes be challenging to translate that into civilian terms so that we get the opportunity for an interview. Once we get out and we've got some civilian time, then we can, it's a little bit easier for us to secure that next position. So from a timing perspective, there isn't a time that is an absolute no. So, from our site, you go to our site, you register, you take the survey, and then when you get your documentation, you upload it. So I would say that at least when you are starting to begin the job search process, and depending on mission, depending on your unit, you may have more or less time to do that before you walk out the door. Mm-hmm. But once hey, look, I'm 6 months out, I'm starting to get my stuff together, I'm starting to put together a strategy, I'm start targeting companies, I'm gonna start networking. At that time, go into the site, get it done, and then when you're ready and you have that documentation on exit, upload it, and we will process that for you. But the good news is that you still have access to the letter from us that you can use for interviews, even before you get out. So, if you are fortunate enough to have a unit that's going to allow you some time to do that, in your final 3 months or whatever, you'll have that letter available. We'll finalize the process with the government once you upload your documentation. but your profile is still going to show the amount that you qualify for or should qualify for to any potential employers that click on your profile once they, enter our site with your code.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today before we wrap it up? I mean, you've been extremely helpful in kind of laying out the land for those veterans going for these tax credits. So, but is there anything else that we've missed?
I don't think, excuse me. I don't think so. Excuse me. The biggest thing is this is out there for you, right? So if it makes sense to you, take advantage of it. There is no downside to this program. I mean, literally there are very few programs in this world that are a win for everybody involved. From a veteran's perspective, this gives you an edge over potential candidates. And remember, the employer still doesn't have to choose you. So you get down to those final 3 candidates, and yes, you come with a tax credit, but they've got another candidate there. You're like, well, this one's better suited. So it's not an automatic, but it is an edge when you get down to equal footing with finalists and you got that credit coming for you. It also helps the businesses, right? And especially in today's environment, you think post-COVID, I mean, how many of our brothers and sisters got laid off?
Yeah.
Right. And they may have been out of work for 6, 8, 9 months now. And, when it comes time for competition, even when we're leaving the military right now, unfortunately, for everybody leaving right now, you're going into a competitive environment that wasn't there pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a challenge. And so giving yourself that one more edge potentially could help make that transition easier, faster, so you can get on the financial footing that you need to be able to start transitioning into your new lives. And then think about it from a pay it forward perspective. It's just, I want our military community to take ownership of this program. Mm-hmm. Nothing against the Department of Labor for, this is their program. It's a great program, but it's 70 plus years old. And, so we need the program to get back into the limelight so that companies are connecting those dots mentally. And if it takes a financial incentive for that company to see the light for the first time and hire a veteran and then go, man, this is a great employee and I got money back and I got a great employee. Recruiters, you guys need to be hiring more veterans. Go make it happen, right? And then that helps all of our brothers and sisters in the future. Because the end result that I want to see is I want companies fighting over us, right? They should. For a lot of reasons, not just the money, but I want them to see the value that we bring to their companies so that they're vying for us. And that's a good thing.
Perfect. Well, Craig, as always, it has been wonderful to have you. And thank you so much for presenting to us today at the Vet Summit. I appreciate it. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you after this or hit your website, can you just refresh their memory as to how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's veteran tax credits, that's plural.com. From there, it's really easy. I mean, everything that we do for you for veterans and transitioning military is free. There's zero cost to you. So there's no reason for you not to do it unless just for some reason you can't get over I don't want to come with money. I just want to do it on my resume. You might start that way and then change your mind after a little bit. So if you do come to the site, just go, read through it, register on the site. And then from there, we're going to do everything that we can to help you. In addition, you'll have the ability to be visible to the employers that are our clients as well, that are looking for veterans. So you might have some of our employers reach out to you directly and ask for interviews because we've got clients that want to hire veterans that are part of our service as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you once again, Craig. I appreciate it. And for everybody out there, thanks so much for attending.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.